So Illuminaughtii is a VTuber now? Not actually, I don't think.
I wanted to start today's episode by apologizing. Sorry for being very quiet.
This was just a clip from her Patreon, but it was posted online and it was interesting, so I thought you'd want to know. She hasn't actually used this on her channel yet as of me recording this, so it's yet to be seen. I doubt she'd make a whole VTuber avatar, which is very hard to do, and not use it on YouTube. But there's actually nothing to talk about here. It was just news. What we are going to talk about today, though, is the updates regarding her legal case. So in my last video, we discussed OzMedia and his team's motion to dismiss Illuminauttii's legal case. If you need an update on that, link is in the description. I won't go through the whole thing again because that would be hideously boring for the people who have already seen it. But just a very brief recap of that was just that his team were trying to get this dismissed on the basis that her claims just didn't hold up. They were vague. She was claiming things like defamation without giving any actual quotes or pointing to where this defamation was occurring. This turned into the judge giving Illuminaughtii and her legal team 2 weeks to submit an amended complaint, which is actually the second amended complaint because she'd already amended it once and still didn't get it right. And now she has submitted that, so we're going to go through it, although I will say she was given a 2-week deadline by the judge, but apparently she was late for this by a week. I don't know how this was still accepted. I don't know if there was some kind of explanation for this, or if she just submitted it late and the judge went, fine, I'll read it, whatever. Before I read you anything though, obviously just want to say, I think you all know by now what I'm about to say, Mad Catster, the absolutely lovely, wonderful person who originally found these documents and was kind enough to share them with me. So thank you to Mad Catster, both for finding the documents and for sharing them. The link for his channel is in the description, so absolutely do check him out. He makes fantastic videos, not just about the Illuminaughtii situation, but in general, his videos are great. I would definitely recommend him, and he is the one who has been finding all of these legal documents, so he's doing God's work out there. So there are a couple of things that have now been added to her new amended complaint. Some of these are just new assertions that she's made in the factual allegations, saying about sad milk, giving more context into who everybody is and what channels they operate, things like that. Mostly just giving more background information than she had done previously. Then we get to the nitty-gritty of things, because if you'll remember from the previous video, again, if you're confused, watch the video, link is in the description. If you'll remember from the previous video, it was said that Blair was living with OzMedia for a while after they had broken up. But here we have something new that hasn't been mentioned before. Miss Blair had just undergone surgery and was actively taking narcotic painkillers. Therefore, her memory was limited during this time. Because Blair believes she and Mr. Oz to be on good terms, he cared for her for a limited time to help her recover from surgery. So I have questions. Right, so I believe codeine, as one example, is a narcotic painkiller, depending on the dosage. I have taken it time to time recently for my back pain, but I used to have an ongoing prescription for codeine for my migraines because they were really bad. And they did not affect my memory. That may be a personal thing. And I know people, family members that have taken much stronger painkillers than codeine and have also not had problems with memory. It does make you a little bit loopy, but doesn't make you blank out or anything like that. There is some information on this, however. UC San Francisco Institute for Neuroscientists, they say that some pain medication can cause confusion and some issues with memory, but this is specifically for older adults and people with cognitive issues. Besides that though, I can't really seem to find many good resources that actually say that these kind of medications can cause memory loss or memory issues or gaps in memory or anything like that. That is not to say that that can't happen. I am not a pharmacist. I am not a doctor. I am not a scientist. So I don't know. But the only reason I'm questioning this is because I find it hard to trust Illuminaughtii, and I don't like to blindly trust her because of what we know about her already. But she could be telling the truth here to give her the benefit of the doubt. I am not in her shoes. I was not there, only she knows. But it is curious why this is added afterwards. Before I move on with the rest of the video, I want to tell you about today's absolutely wonderful sponsor, Fume. Going cold turkey is really, really difficult, and there is a much better way to break your bad habits. And no, I'm not talking about giving all your money to some kind of pyramid scheme. I am talking about fume. Not everything in your bad habit is actually all that bad, so why make a huge, uncomfortable change instead of just removing the bad from the habit? And fume is an innovative, award-winning flavored air device that does just that. Instead of electronics, fume is completely natural. It doesn't use vapor because it uses flavored air. And there are no harmful chemicals because fume uses all natural, delicious flavors. Instead of being bad, fume is good. It's a guilt-free, natural habit that you're free to enjoy, and it makes replacing your bad habits so much easier. Your fume comes with an adjustable airflow dial and is designed with movable parts and magnets for fidgeting. Gives you a lot to do with your hands and is really helpful for de-stressing. And I've said it before, the fidgeting aspect is actually my favorite part of the fume. I'm constantly fidgeting with that thing. I always need something to do with my hands, and it actually kind of helps me concentrate actually when I need to do something. Like when I'm recording a video and I lose my train of thought, I just start fidgeting. And the base was just launched in January. It's a weighted base to keep your fume on when it's not in use. When I say weighted, I mean this thing is heavy, it's not going anywhere. And it has a magnet inside that keeps your fume attached. And when it's attached, the fume can be spun around, which is really fun for fidgeting. Like, I'm not joking, this is so fun. It's fantastic. Like, it's a game changer. I love it. So the fume is a great, fun, natural product, and it comes with some really, really delicious flavors. I mean, there's flavors for anything that you possibly like, any preference. And some of my favorites are the crisp mint or the orange vanilla flavor. Getting rid of our bad habits is something that we often put off because it's just difficult. But with fume, it's not difficult anymore. It's fun and easy. Fume has served over 150,000 customers and has thousands of success stories, so there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't be one of them. Join Fume in accelerating humanity's breakup from destructive habits by picking up the Journey Pack today. Head to tryfume.com/VangelinaSkov or scan the QR code and use code VangelinaSkov to get 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. That's tryfum.com and use code VangelinaSkov to save an additional 10% off on your order today. Thank you so much to Fume for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get on with the rest of it. The only thing that seems to be relevant that I can actually find, by the way, and I'll mention this really briefly so don't go on about this for too long, I won't go on about every point this long, I swear to God, is a journal article from the Journal of Psychopharmacology, which was published in 2008, so it is a little bit outdated at this point. So they found that in working memory only, there was subtle impairments while using morphine. We don't know if she was on morphine. I'm not trying to speculate what she was on. Working memory, by the way, is just a form of memory that's storing information for a short amount of time to allow you to carry out tasks. It's essentially a day-to-day function that we need to be able to comprehend things. It's not long-term memory. And they found only a very small impairment in that. There were also some very marginal issues found with episodic memory, but it was not significant. So in any kind of scientific paper, they'll use data analysis to decide if something is significant or not, and if it's small enough amount, it's not. But again, this is from 2008, and these things, they go out of date really quickly. She may have had issues with memory. I won't drag on every point this much, I promise. Anyway, during this period, while she was on these pain meds, Defendant Oz told Blair that he had taken a forbearance on his home loan and that if she did not provide him with 6 months of mortgage payments, she was going to be evicted from the house because the bank was going to foreclose on his home. Blair apparently does not remember this episode, but her sister and friend were present who do. They stymied Defendant Oz's efforts to coerce Blair at this time. After Miss Blair had stopped taking these painkillers and regained her ability to retain memories, I'm really iffy on this. Really, really iffy on this, but let's move on. Oz stated that she had promised to provide this money, and feeling obligated based upon the fact that she had no recollection of this promise, did so. I truly feel the need to point out here that at this time, Blair was living in his home rent-free, making far much more money than he does. If he did tell her she could stay there for free, then he did. But I'm also wondering why this is being brought up now, because she was supposed to just expand on the things that she had said before. Now she's adding things, and it's more just testimonies without any actual evidence to back it up. So there's no, I guess this would come up in court, but there's no evidence of her giving him money for this or anything like that. So we've yet to see any of that. During this time, Oz stopped caring for Blair, and she was almost hospitalized because of this lack of care, which was previously administered. He's not a professional, and Mad Catster pointed this out as well. He's not a professional. He was not hired to care for her. He had no obligation to care for her. He did so previously, but I assume that was out of the goodness of his heart. But again, this is Blair once again saying everything wrong that happens to me is Oz's fault. He didn't care for me, so I nearly had to go to the hospital. That's not okay. On or about the end of August 2022, Blair confronted Oz, who eventually agreed to a payment plan to repay her the mortgage payments he wrongfully coerced from her over a period of approximately 2 years. I'm very curious about this. I'm wondering if this is her way of talking about the payment plan that Oz alleges he went into with Blair, actually with iilluminaughtii as a company, because he had been borrowing money from her, which she added to a ledger of debt, allegedly. Now, I would like to know if this is how she's spinning it legally, so that it doesn't look bad, or if this is a completely separate issue, which we haven't heard anything about this before, so I'm unsure. It goes on then to talk about iilluminaughtii being in a new relationship, and then it alleges that OzMedia went onto iilluminaughtie's computer without permission and read her personal messages. In doing so, he learned that Ms. Blair was romantically involved with someone else. I would really love to know the proof for that. I would love to know if he admitted to doing that, or if she's just assuming this is what happened and he found out another way. Because I believe it's likely that somebody told him what was going on, but I mean, it does happen that people read messages, and just because I am on OzMedia's side doesn't mean that he didn't do this. What I will say though, just to point this out now instead of waiting till we get to it, is that it later says that they don't know how OzMedia got iilluminaughtii's password. So it's sort of saying that he like hacked into her computer, which no shade to OzMedia, but I don't think he has hacking skills. So it just seems a little bit convoluted. Again, it could be true. It could have happened somehow, but I'm just taking all of this with a grain of salt. A hefty handful of salt, actually, just to be sure. Sorry, I'm actually wrong here. I had read this document previously, but he did apparently, according to this document, admit to accessing her computer. But we don't have any evidence of this. It's just a claim being made here. So I would love to see what OzMedia has to say about this. Then it goes on again to talk about OzMedia reaching out to another employee of iilluminaughtii to say that Blair had cheated on him. Once again, I'm gonna say this just so doesn't sound relevant for what this legal document is. Like, this is not defamation to privately message somebody and say, hey, this is going on in my relationship. I don't understand. At least I don't think it's defamation. Again, not a lawyer, but it doesn't make sense. Blair is under the information and belief that it was around this time that all defendants began plotting to effectively ruin Miss Blair's business reputation and life. This sounds a wee bit extreme. I'm not saying there's no situation where a group of people can get together and plot the downfall of somebody, but everybody had their own separate negative experiences with Blair, and nobody said anything until she did the whole thing with LegalEagle, until people started questioning her integrity. It's not like they all plotted and somehow made her accuse LegalEagle of plagiarism. It's bizarre. And then goes on to talk about, once again, the Twitter threads, the threats that she was getting from third parties on social media. And then a new one. After this incident, defendant Oz contacted another former Pyramid employee, whose name is redacted, and attempted to harass her into disclosing private information about Blair so that defendant Oz could exploit it publicly. This is a very big claim. I would love if there was more information. This is so vague. What was the information? Did he successfully get it? Did he exploit it publicly according to you? Where did he contact this employee? when did this happen exactly? It's just very vague, as a lot of things have been so far. Then goes on to talk about the videos that were made about her again, and we finally have some quotes. Not a lot, but we have some quotes. One of these is, which wouldn't be surprising considering Blair's alleged white-collar crimes I intend to expose with evidence within my video. He did say alleged, so I feel like this is kind of safe. Also, he didn't say what kind of white-collar crimes. He didn't say Blair did this, so it seems a bit flimsy. It seems more like intent to say something, but he hasn't said it yet, which was an issue in the last video as well. Like, you can't sue somebody for something they haven't said. Oz clarified that the white-collar crime he was falsely accusing plaintiffs of was embezzlement, which I don't believe that that is the case. I think that was a slightly separate topic. He never said she's committing white-collar crimes, it was embezzlement. He said alleged white-collar crimes, and then in a separate thing had said that iilluminaughtii said she may end up getting in trouble for embezzlement because she had been lending him money through company funds. But not that she committed embezzlement, that she said that she was worried she was going to get in trouble for embezzlement. It's not quite the same. Then we get again to the whole car situation, which just seems to get more and more insane every time we discuss it. But this time we have added information of her unpacking the vehicle allegedly to get Wonderstruck's belongings out of it, and saying that she found documentation of his intent to permanently relocate to Texas, despite his assertions that he would be moving to Colorado and working with Pyramid and Miss Blair. What does this have to do with anything? What? Is he not allowed to move to Texas? Are people not free? I mean, if you hire somebody as an employee, you don't have the right to tell them, yes, you now must work for me forever and only live where I say you can live. It does not work that way. Also, we don't have any information on what the documentation is here. What kind of documentation? Is it like a scrap piece of paper with "I'm gonna move to Texas" written on it? Like, you need to be more specific. This is what the judge said to you, Blair, is be more specific. Be more specific, please. Once again goes on to talk about everybody planning to obtain revenge on Blair, which I feel like I doubt, to be honest. Maybe they got together to discuss their negative experiences, to share stories. I really don't personally believe that they all plotted to ruin her. Of course that does happen, but I just don't believe in this situation that that's what's happening. And I have no evidence to suggest that. There's nothing that has suggested that so far besides Blair saying it, and I don't particularly trust Blair's word. That's just it. We've finally now gotten some more information on the NDA that was signed. So the parties agree that disclosure of Pyramid information, including but not limited to company history, operations, affiliates, sensitive PII, to include but not limited to an individual's employment or ownership status in any organization, unless it directly interferes with Pyramid's operations, associated addresses and phone numbers, and any information regarding an individual's involvement in Pyramid events or operations could cause irreparable harm to both Pyramid and or its affiliates. That was a very long sentence. Again, this may be a completely normal thing. It just seems really all-encompassing to me, but I guess this is probably a normal NDA to sign. I will say it's been pointed out by Mad Catster, not in the last video but in previous videos, that the NDA was specified for a very long period of time and that could cause issues. But it's saying that Felix the Kit Kat, who, if you'll remember, shared screenshots with the Click showing that Blair had asked Felix if he could dig up dirt on the Click and she would pay him for it. So she's saying that this falls under the NDA, it's a breach of the agreement. However, Felix the Kit Kat did not officially work for Blair at this time. At the time that he was asked to get the screenshots, she was just paying him for that, but he wasn't an employee. He hadn't signed the NDA yet. NDAs don't work retroactively. This is ridiculous, in my opinion. And more quotes, guys, we're getting more quotes. We're really being blessed today with the quotes. This was her last chance, so you can understand. So this is another claim for relief. In the same Let's Talk video, defendant also stated, Blair had bad credit, so all of the purchases, loans, everything was being placed in my name. I mean, if that's untrue, then that could be grounds for defamation, but we'll have to see the proof of that being untrue. This would lead me to asking Blair, my partner, for financial help financial help for things such as my home, which she was living in. These amounts of assistance would be added to a ledger of debt. This really does make me believe that this is what she's talking about when she says the mortgage repayment debt that she gave him but shouldn't have given him. Absolutely bizarre. I even offered to work in her crypto farm for free to pay back the debt. These statements were defamatory because they were misrepresentations of the facts, which caused Blair and Pyramid to be hated, ridiculed, shunned, and harmed plaintiff's business and trade and caused reputational damages. These statements had the tendency to imply that Miss Blair engaged in financial coercion, causing some form of indentured servitude. Again, if they're not true, then maybe, but there seems to be no proof so far that it isn't true, although at least this is not vague anymore. At least it's being clear about what she's talking about. The comments on the webpage hosting the video are rife with viewer statements of hatred and threats made towards Blair and Pyramid. I don't think that this has to do with Oz or Wonder or anything because they didn't say them, but maybe the point being made here is that this is proof that it caused people to dislike her, which there are a lot of things that caused people to dislike her, many of which are her own actions. So there you go. For example, defendant Oz was an owner of the crypto farm he referenced in the video. Plus Blair was paying almost $300,000 of defendant's blank expenses because he lacked the funds after he leased a brand new some kind of car, presumably, worth about, number is redacted. Again, I would just love to hear the other side's take on this because so far, everything that Blair has said has been, in my opinion, false or twisted. So if she is telling the truth, okay, I don't think him being the owner of the crypto farm makes things defamatory. Like, you still have to get paid a wage for a business that you own. Like, that's how it works. So I'm a bit confused by this. But in this, actually, it goes on to finally state an actual number for the damages instead of just saying she lost some money and hoping that the judge is going to guess how much her business makes. In the period of September 16th, 2022 to October 1st, 2022, so half a month, Blair made $47,665.31. I said Blair made, I should actually establish that the company made this much. I'm assuming this is before any expenses and paying of employees. But that is huge revenue to be making in half a month on a YouTube channel. Insane. And then that dropped to $2,312.86 during the same period a year later. So she's claiming that this drop is to do with the videos being made about her. It then goes on to talk again about the salary issues with Wonderstruck, saying that he accused her of wage theft, which he didn't actually do. And Madcaster pointed this out as well. What he was doing was questioning where the rest of his wages went. And this was an argument that Madcaster made, and I'm sorry for just like repeating things he said, but he made a really good point, and I wouldn't have thought of that, which is that as his employer, it would have been iilluminaughtii, the company's responsibility to explain his wages to him and give him a proper wage slip, like a pay slip, so he understands where his money is going and what deductions are being made. So if he didn't understand where the rest of the money is going, that's actually on the company. Maybe not on a legal scale, but it is supposed to be their responsibility. Then goes on to talk once again about the car, saying that Wonderstruck took the car from Colorado to Texas even before the first rental payment was due on July 15th, 2021. So is he trapped? Like, if you're paying for the car, is he not allowed to leave? Like, is this part of your agreement? Yes, I help you with car, but you cannot leave Colorado. You must be by my side like a pet dog. Like, this doesn't, you can't force people to stay in a country or in a state, right? It doesn't work like that. Because of this, she's claiming that Wonderstruck breached the agreement and that Blair was legally permitted to repossess it. This makes no sense. And what part of the agreement would it have been? He can never take the car out of the state. Wasn't the point that it was supposed to be residing in Colorado? But he was visiting Texas. Ridiculous. Nevertheless, in the My Response video, Wonderstruck claimed that Blair had no legal basis to repossess the car and did it merely as a massive FU. I'm glad we at least got a quote this time. These statements were also false, and Wonderstruck knew them to be false. These statements were defamatory because they cause damages. The comments in the video are rife with viewers' hatred and threats and blah blah. We read the exact same thing in the other one, that's why I'm saying it like this. In the period of May 11th, 2022 to June 1st, 2022, so a bit longer than half a month, she made $27,636.50. Again, I said her. The company made that much. And that dropped to $10,061.29 during the same period a year later. But what I'm wondering is, because if you had nearly 50k in half a month. This month you have nearly 30k in half a month. And now you're saying it dropped to 10,000 and that's Wonderstruck's fault somehow. But you've just shown that your income was fluctuating anyway. And if anybody knows YouTube, it is not stable. It fluctuates like ridiculously. Some months, danger zone. Other months, better. Can pay your bills, great. Or you make 50 grand in half a month. Different situation. So it does fluctuate. So I feel like trying to prove that that is completely because of Wonderstruck is ridiculous. Again, she's saying there's two different places where her income dropped and it's because of these two specific people, but only in these specific situations. You're showing yourself that there's multiple things happening here, and a lot of it has to do with you and your actions, in my opinion. By the way, everything I say in this video is my opinion. Thanks. Moving swiftly on, we then talk about Felix the Kit Kat, and we get actual screenshots. We got a screenshot in an Illuminati legal document. I'm shocked. So he posted, "My former employee Illuminati is retaliating against me for things I've said and done after my employment ended. She falsely claimed to have served me papers and is trying to force a default judgment. Any help would be greatly appreciated." And it is again saying that these are defamatory, that they're not true, and that she did in fact serve him with papers. We don't know if that's true or not. We have no idea. Defendant's statement called special damages as evidenced by the fact that plaintiff's revenue from videos dropped by more than 95% after defendant's tweet was published, from 74,646 between November 23rd to December 23rd of 2022, and then to 2,751.72 cents during the same period a year later. But you've just mentioned multiple other instances which you are claiming are single-handedly the cause for you losing revenue. You can't say every single one of these instances is the single-handed cause of you losing revenue. You're saying that this is specifically because of the tweet, but there was multiple other things happening at the same time. You've just said that. We actually get several more screenshots when we're talking about the Felix the Kit Kat situation, talking about the screenshots that were shared with the click. Defendant then asserts that Blair, though she publicly disapproves of the or slur, uses it in private. This statement carries defamatory meaning because it implies that Blair is a hypocrite and a bigot. Okay. Says that there's no proof, and that the clicks video also single-handedly somehow caused a drop in her revenue from $37,981 in May to June of 2022 down to $19,274.85, which is similar to a number you said previously, although that was for 3 weeks. Just under 3 weeks of the month. So that is the majority of the legal document. There were a couple of other things in there, but these are the main points that I wanted to discuss today. So essentially what's going to happen after this is more than likely that OzMedia and his team, and potentially Felix the Kit Kat and his team, and potentially Wonderstruck and his team will potentially, I've said potentially too many times, I'm so sorry, file a claim to dismiss. Again, based on some of this being still a bit vague, although this time I will say we do have screenshots, we do have quotes. But that's going to be it for now. Thanks so much for watching. I will of course keep you updated on this situation if something big comes out. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do leave me a comment and let me know what you thought about all of this. And if you don't want to leave me a comment about that because you might not want to, then leave me a comment and let me know, do you often wear sunglasses, because I have sunglasses here on my desk, because whenever I wear them I just take them off my face and I put them in here because it's easier than putting them away properly. So do you wear sunglasses? A lot. I wear them a lot. I have normal ones and prescription ones, so there you go. Follow me on social media. I am VangelinaSkov everywhere. Like, comment, share, do all the things that I am supposed to ask you to do at the end of a video, including remembering to check out Fume. Thank you so much to Fume for sponsoring today's video, and thank you for watching today's video. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!